Hey everyone, this is Dave from the Adobe Character Animator team, and one thing I get asked a lot by different users is how to speed up their workflow. In particular, they're making a custom character and then they see on Adobe Express the Animate from Audio quick action that we did, and they say, wait, that's really easy. All I have to do is like upload audio, press one button, and my character magically animates. Could I do that on the desktop? And what I'm going to show today is a way to get that same result on the desktop version of Character Animator. It's not just one button press, but you will have a lot more control. And I'm going to show you exactly how we rig our characters for Animate from Audio so you can do a very similar workflow on your own. And if you do this process, you can create an animated character within just a few minutes. It's a very simple process once you have a character all rigged and ready to go. So if that sounds good to you, let's get started. So if you've used Animate from Audio before, you know how quick and easy this is to get started with a character, right? So I just select a character, anyone I want. I'm going to click this goat character. I can resize it, reposition it however I want, choose a background, whatever sort of thing I want, and choose the different sizes depending on what social media destination or wherever I'm doing it. And then I can go ahead and record my voice. Now I've pre-recorded something, a 30-second clip, so I'm going to go ahead and click Browse. And I've got my little test file here that I'm going to open. And now it's going to analyze that and generate the animation for me behind the scenes. Okay, so that took about a minute to generate, and let's see the result of what happened here. Hey everyone, Goat here. And I just wanted to tell you about Adobe Character Animator. It's a great animation program that lets you control a character, whether you're on the web as part of Adobe Express or in the desktop version. Today, I'm going to show you how to achieve web-like results with the desktop version. And you can make a character animation within minutes. All right, let's get started. So playing this back without sound, you'll see what's happening here. The character is switching from one pose to the next at certain times. And a lot of times this is happening kind of between different phrases during a pause or, a transitional thing or something like that. And the whole character is moving, right? The arms, the pupils, the eyes, all of that stuff is kind of changing, and you'll see some blinks are also spliced in there to keep things interesting. So one of the most common comments that I get for any video I put out about Animate from Audio is from desktop Character Animator users. And they're like, hey, this is awesome, you can do this on the web. Can I do this with my own characters on the desktop? Like, can I just take a character, press one button, and then have all these poses and animations done for me? I sit back, by the time I'm done drinking my coffee, it's ready to go. Well, the truth is that behind the scenes, we are actually doing a lot more work to each of these characters, right? So every character that you see on Animate from Audio was rigged in a specific way to work with our Animate from Audio system. And what I'm going to teach you today is how to set up your own characters just like we do for the Animate from Audio quick action. And it's not going to be just one button press, but you can make an animation in just a couple of minutes. And I'm going to show you right now how to do that in real time. So I'm just going to race through this. Don't feel like you got to take notes or anything. Just kind of watch what I'm doing really quick. So I've got the character here brought into Character Animator. I've got an audio file, the same one that I uploaded to Animate from Audio. I'm going to drag that audio file in here. And of course, the first step we always do is timeline, compute lip sync take from scene audio. That analyzes it, and now we've got all of our mouth shapes showing up as we would expect. Okay, so now I also have to add triggers because this character has all these poses that we're going to be switching between. So I'm going to turn everything off over here by pressing Command click, and the only thing I'm going to have on is triggers. That's the only thing I need. I'm also going to turn my audio meter off here, microphone icon. Okay, and then I'm just going to press record for 1 second. And hey everyone, Goat here. I'm going to press the 1 key. And now I started with a pose system down here, and I'm just going to drag it out, and let's go to talking pose 1. Okay, now let's split this and go to a different talking pose. Here looks like another one. Let's go to here and change it to a different pose and another split, and we'll go here and maybe 2 and something like this. And all I'm doing is going through this and trying different poses and doing a bunch of different things every few seconds to make it feel like the character is doing something different. Okay, let's do this, and great. Something like that. Now some might be repeated, but I don't know what the timing was exactly, and I took a little bit of extra time to explain a few things, but that was really quick. Let's play this back and see how it looks. Hey everyone, Goat here. And I just wanted to tell you about Adobe Character Animator. It's a great animation program that lets you control a character, whether you're on the web as part of Adobe Express or in the desktop version. Today, I'm going to show you how to achieve web-like results with the desktop version, and you can make a character animation within minutes. All right, let's get started. So not everything was perfect, right? There were a few parts that I might add an extra thing. I'd split it here and, add an extra pose there that felt too long. But overall, I got results that looked very, very similar to what I would get with Animate from audio. And of course, now with the desktop version, if I really wanted to dig in there and refine parts and, change the lip sync mouths or add an extra trigger or eyebrow expression or something like that, I have the ability to do that in here. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds, right? Where I've got this quick and easy way to record something and then the fine-tuned control that I can do over top of that to make it look as good as I possibly can. So let's delete everything I did just there. I'm just selecting and pressing delete. And let's look at what's happening with the goat puppet here. The biggest thing that I want to draw your attention to is the triggers panel over here. And you'll notice that this character has a swap set group called poses. And it's switching between a bunch of different poses. We start with a neutral silence pose here that is set as the primary default to the whole swap set. So that's the default that you're seeing right now. And then it's going to swap between these others. Now, in Animate from audio, it's automatically doing it based off of those pauses. You saw when I did it, I was just changing things on my own and just deciding, oh yeah, let's do 3 here and 9 here and 7 here and whatever. And you'll notice, like if I go to my replays panel over here, if I play any of these back, I can get a nice little preview of what each one is. And these aren't anything crazy, right? Like the goat isn't jumping up and down and doing backflips. It's more like different kind of neutral poses, right? That the character is doing, gestures and things like that. And the reason we did this for Animate from audio is we don't know what type of content someone's going to say for these sorts of things, right? So we don't know if what they're talking about is serious or funny or whatever. And so we just wanted to have kind of neutral poses that allow the user to do whatever they want. Now you can obviously make your own and make a really angry pose or a really excited pose or whatever you want. And then that would allow your character to be that much more expressive. But, we had to kind of do a mainstream approach for the Animate from audio style. Now, if you haven't watched the replays tutorial, that might be one to check out because that's going to go in greater detail about how to create replays. But let's just do a quick refresher here for those of you who are new to this. So a replay is basically a collection, a package of different elements. So you can see here with the hover states, I can see all the things that are packaged inside one of these. So I see body tilt, the dragger, the eye gaze, the face, transform, and triggers. All of these things were recorded and packaged together. And a recent update that I think we made last year was I can take any of these and right click it and I could rename it, or I can edit replay. And if I do that, now I can see behind the scenes in this temporary timeline what exactly is happening and how this thing was recorded. So let's make this a little bigger so we can see it. Now right now I've got my triggers and swap set competing with my timeline. So I'm gonna turn off the default here so I can actually see what's happening in my timeline instead of what the swap set is trying to force me to have as a default, right? Okay, so now I can check this out, and as I drag through it, I can see all these different things were changed. And it's pretty subtle, but like the head tilts a little bit, the arms move slightly, the eyelids, the trigger, eyelid is at kind of halfway down. There's even a little bounce you'll see here. There's in the timeline, I have transform, position Y, and rotation. And there's just a slight bounce that happens with the character there. And that's a really nice way to transition in and out of something. So all you would do, it says keyframes here. These were originally created as keyframes, which you can do for any property, well, at least keyframeable properties by clicking the stopwatch icon. And then there's a way to right click what you're recording and convert them into a take that you can blend. And that's all these blend handles here that we've got. So the character always starts from kind of a neutral state, basically, where all the blends are in their, off state, and then it slowly blends in here. It looks about 10 frames or so that we're blending most things in, and then about 10 frames to blend back out. So let's imagine that I've got a character here and I just want to start from scratch. I want to create my own swap set of poses that I could use to do this really quick workflow. So I'm going to select my character here. Let's delete the poses category and let's turn off lip sync in the microphone as well, so I'm not kind of polluting my recordings with the audio, because I'm always going to be adding my audio later. I don't want to predetermine what my mouth looks like. And now let's start with a neutral pose, right? So I'm just going to stay still and just record for a second. So let's do something like, and actually I'm going to drag the hands into a slightly position like that. Okay, let's hit record. And stop. Okay, so for that second or so, whatever, I'm gonna press plus a few times. That is what I got, is this very, neutral state. Now I don't like how the eyes are going up there, so I might just actually delete that. And now they're just gonna stay in their centered position. And then I'm gonna drag this to about 2 seconds or so. That seems like a good amount to go by, something like that, okay? And then I'm gonna take our blend handles here, all these little squares that are at the end, and with all of them selected, I'm going to do this for about 10 frames in the back and 10 frames in the front, something along those lines. And so now, when I play this back, there is a neutral pose. Now, the original way that this was done was even better. It had that little bounce to it, all of that stuff that made it look nicer. And I could, of course, make refinements like that if I wanted to, with the eyelids and all that. But let's keep it simple for now. So I'm just going to take this and let's select all 4 of these, right click, and let's create a replay and trigger. Go ahead, and now that has created this new replay over here that's currently named all of the other things, all the behaviors that it recorded. Let's right click and rename, and we're going to call this, silence or neutral or whatever. And we want to set this to stop sustain replay. That's just a better setting. I use that 9 times out of 10, actually 99% of the time. That's the way I want to do a replay, is stop sustain replay. And then over here, I've got my trigger. So let's also rename this. I'm going to press enter and call this silence, if I could spell silence. And let's make a new swap set, and we're going to call this poses. And let's put silence in there, and that's going to eventually be my default. I'm also going to latch it as well. Okay, let's do just a couple of other poses just to show how this might work. So I'm going to get rid of these now. I don't need them anymore because I've created a, this pose. And now let's do a different one. Now let's have him like looking up and his arms are out and excited, something like this. And maybe I'm going to do a trigger too. So let's do, we got some different eyelids. So I don't have any current settings to these. So let's just add some buttons really quick. And let's set this up as like a 3, so it squints. Okay, so I'm going to do 3, press 3 for the squint, and we'll record. Okay, something like that. And now the character jumps to that position. Now to make this all seamless again, what we're going to do is, again, select all of these, drag it out to about 2 seconds. You know the drill. Add this for the blends. The trigger is not going to blend. That's okay. Something like that. And now when we play this back, it's going to go into this pose and back. So same thing as before, right click. This time we can create a replay and trigger in the swap set because we've already made a swap set here. And let's go to poses because that's my category. And boom, now I've got this new one. So let's call this pose 1. I'm going to latch this, go back to pose over here, enter pose 1 over in my replays, and set to stop sustain. So you're starting to get an idea of how this works, right? I'm just kind of going to make a variation of poses. I would say between 8 to 10 is probably your minimum that you're going to want for enough variation. Otherwise, when you go lower, it's going to look really cookie cutter. People are going to say, oh, I remember that pose. He's going to the hips again. Okay. When you're able to switch between a lot and have a lot at your disposal, that's going to make life a little bit easier. All right, and just to round it up for now, let's do one more pose. Let's have the character, arms out like this. And let's do a different eyelid, maybe that one, and the head back a little bit like this. Those eyes are a little creepy that they're not showing up. Maybe I'll do a different eye thing. There we go. Let's record this. Okay, cool. Got that. Let's stretch it out. Same thing, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, right click in swap set. That's how easy it is. I mean, once you know what you're doing, you can kind of rock through this pretty easily, pretty quickly. I do think it's worth naming the behaviors though, all this thing to kind of keep track of what they are. And if you do have one that's called like excited or, you know, crying or whatever, you should name it like that. Nobody sees this in the Animate from Audio version, so it doesn't matter what we call them. But for you, you may want to have different emotions for your character. Okay, cool. So let's delete this last one. Let's just say I just want to move between these three ones. So now that I'm done with my recording over here, I'm just going to make silence as my default position right here. And I've got pose, my two poses that I can move between. So let's bring in that original audio file that I had previously. I'm going to zoom out a little bit with the minus key. And I'm just going to do like the first part of it or so to see how it goes. Okay, so as always, I can go to Timeline, Compute Lip Sync from Scene Audio, and that's going to analyze it and do the whole process for the mouth shapes. And now you'll see all of them are showing up down there. Now that I'm done with that, I'm going to turn off my microphone. I'm going to command click all of these, command on Mac, control on Windows to turn off all my red dots except for triggers. That's the only one I care about. And now I'm just going to do, there's two ways I could do this. So the first way is the way that I showed earlier, which was I basically record something. So let's just set a few things for these triggers over here. Let's call them 5 and 6. And let's just record. And I'll press one trigger at some point. Okay, something like that. And now I'm just going to extend this out. And you see I've got my pose 1 showing up here. And then at any time, I could split it. And the command for that is here. Is Command Shift D on Mac. There's going to be Control Shift D on Windows. So I just know the shortcut. So I'm just going to do that anywhere that I see a gap in the waveform over here. So I see like there's a gap there and here, and maybe this one's too long. So let's have it change there. And I'm just going through pressing Command Shift D to have all these different poses show up. And now all I have to do is select any of these and right click it. And you'll see I have all my options here. So let's start with silence and then move to pose 1. And maybe then I go to pose 2 and then back to silence. And then maybe I do pose 2 to silence here. This is gonna be a really limited set, but you're gonna get the idea of kind of how quick this is. And we'll end with silence. Okay, so I just went through the whole process. Let's watch this and see how it looks. Hey everyone, Goat here. And I just wanted to tell you about Adobe Character Animator. It's a great animation program that lets you control a character, whether you're on the web as part of Adobe Express or in the desktop version. Today, I'm going to show you how to achieve web-like results with the desktop version, and you can make a character animation within minutes. All right, let's get started. Okay, so with only 3 poses, that was not the best, right? But you can imagine if you get those 8 to 10 poses, you're gonna get a pretty believable, nice looking character. And you see how quick that workflow is. I just record a trigger, split, talking pose 1, 2, 3, 8, whatever. And then you've got a character ready to go. Now, another fast workflow that you might like for this is live puppeteering. And basically, I'm just gonna play this back and record and press myself doing the buttons at the right time. If you have a lot of buttons to switch between, this can be kind of difficult to get the timing exactly right. Anyone who's done a live stream character knows how that works, but it can work for a lot of situations. So I'll just do this really quick. I won't even do the whole thing, but basically I'm gonna press record. Triggers is the only thing that I have armed down here, and I'm just gonna switch between the 5 and the 6 key while I'm recording. So let's give it a try. Hey everyone, Goat here. And I just wanted to tell you about Adobe Character Animator. It's a great animation program that lets you control a character, whether you're on the web as part of Adobe Express or in the desktop version. Okay, so we don't have to go through the whole thing, but you see what's happening down here. I have now created a poses trigger track, and it shows pose 1 and 2. And if there's a gap, that just means it's going to default to whatever the default is, which in this case is the silence pose. Now, the cool thing about this is, even if I didn't get it perfect, I can always right click and change something. I can always extend it, move these around, reposition them however I want. So it may make sense to do this as a first pass and try things out and see how well you can get it, and then refine it based off of, get your timing just right to show up at certain times. So is one of these better than the other? No, not really. It's really up to you and how you feel about things. Personally, I like the control of the first one where I can just right click and try things and move them around. That just feels a little bit easier and more manageable, particularly if I have a lot of triggers and emotions for my character. But for a more simple character, or if you're in a super rush, this quick recording, live puppeteering thing may be the way to go. All right, so that's it. I hope that's helpful. And obviously this is just one way to do your characters, right? You can do it the more traditional way where you aren't switching between pre-canned poses and you just do everything live and you mix different triggers together with eyebrows and arm positions and things like that just to make things a little bit more lively. But that's the beauty of Character Animator Desktop is you are in full control. And so you can make it as easy or as complicated as you want. So I'd love to see the latest things that you are creating. I'm going to try to do a new Community Spotlight episode soon. I already have 2 pages in a Google Doc of potential entries there. So please, if you're making cool stuff with Character Animator, we would love to see it. So please use hashtag Character Animator on social media when sharing anything you've made. And if you run into any trouble over anything I've said today in this video or any other questions you have about Character Animator, the best place to get help are the official Adobe Character Animator forums. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching and have fun.